Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bet My Buttons, a Hunger Games podcast. I am Matthew, and sitting next to me, my beautiful wife, Mary Kate.
Well, see,
I was
you
going to
looked
say your
at
name,
me.
and then you were going to start talking.
You looked at me.
Okay, well, sometimes people look at each other. I'm not sure if you know this. But anyway.
Two wars.
Two wars? Two wars? We're starting a podcast. And no, it's not an Always Sunny podcast. This is The Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
So, why don't you go ahead and explain, what do you know about the Hunger Games? I mean, don't say everything you know about the Hunger Games, but what's your experience with the Hunger Games?
Yes, so the Hunger Games, obviously, it started out as a trilogy of books written by Suzanne Collins. And the early to mid 2000s, started in 2008. The last book came out in 2010. It was instantly a cultural phenomenon. Very quickly became movies, and that is where I am going to come in. My 8th grade class, we took a field trip to the movie theater to see the first Hunger Games movie.
Wait, so you went as a class to
Yes.
see it? So after, reading the book?
We read the book as a class, yes. And then we went to see the movie the week it came out. We went on a Friday morning, the day the movie came out, to see it. I have no idea how my teacher pulled it off, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's impressive. I've never heard of anything. I've never heard of a field trip to the movie theater. I same school systems, same school.
Yeah.
Never heard of such a thing. So that is pretty impressive. So you've read all the books?
So yes, I was reading the original trilogy as they were being published, and then obviously, as we know, a prequel was published during COVID times in May of 2020.
I don't think you're allowed to say that word on the internet. I think people usually dance around it for some odd strange reason.
Okay.
No, I'm just messing with you.
It's like we won't be monetized. COVID's a curse word.
Yeah, now any chance of getting money from the two people listening to this is now gone. You've ruined it.
Yeah, but hopefully these two amazing listeners that we have know that recently another prequel was announced titled Sunrise on the Reaping. And that's going to be coming out as a book title in March of 2025. And then the movie is already set to be produced by Lionsgate, who made the other 5 movies, in November of 2026. So we are sitting down today because I have been very invested in this series, in this universe, obviously, for some time now, good 12, 14 years. But Matthew here, my amazing co-host, has never read any of the books, has never seen any of the movies.
Okay, well, first I just want to say you were my beautiful wife, and I'm just your amazing co-host. So that's a little suspicious there. But it is true. I have never seen any of the movies, have not read any of the books. I know next to nothing. I could not tell you the main character's name. I want to say Rey, but I think that's the weird Star Wars reboot.
Yeah, definitely the weird Star Wars reboot.
And I think Abister is a character?
No.
Is an A name?
I mean, lots of people have A's in their name.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought there was a guy with some controversy lately. He had an A name for casting purposes, but that doesn't matter. That's neither here nor there. So the Hunger Games to me is essentially a game type in Halo Reach. So it was there was this thing where people could make a map, and basically it was Battle Royale before Battle Royale. There was, I think there's something, and I think this is also in the series, called a cornucopia.
Okay.
That's in the middle, and that's where you'd go and there'd be weapons and stuff, so everybody'd rush there, and then the last person alive would win. They'd all try to kill each other.
So do you have a date of when this was a thing in Halo? What came first?
Well, Halo Reach. I mean, this came first. I'm sure this book. I'm sure the game type was made based off.
Because the book came out in September of 2008.
Yeah, so Halo Reach, I don't think came out until 2009, 2010. And then this is game type, and there were other games that had this game type, and then Battle Royale became a thing, and that's now what people call it instead of calling it the Hunger Games. But essentially, yeah, just a game type where everybody tries to kill each other. I never played it very much. but I do remember it being a thing. And then I know it's a very gray movie. Everything is very gray or white. There's no color, no saturation in this world. Very dark. Well, not dark, just gray.
Every day's a school day when you learn something new.
Yes. Like especially like in the games, I think, there's some green, some trees, but anytime it's like the city or the whatever civilization, everybody's wearing gray clothes. Everything's made out of gray concrete. That is basically what I think of when I think of the movies. I don't know why. I could be wrong. I could be right. You're giving me vibes that I'm spot on with this. Everything is gray. It is the grayest movie you're ever going to see. So I expect the text to be very white and black.
Har, har, har. You really got us there. Yeah, so let's just kind of dive a little bit deeper into Matt's knowledge or lack thereof of the series. Throughout this podcast, we are going to be reading parts of the book and then discussing the parts of the book. Obviously, I know how it ends. And Matt's going to be experiencing it for the first time. So we're going to get to see...
she's going to win. And then she's going to have a setback. That creates a second book where she's going to win again. And then she's going to overthrow the entire government. That would be my guess, just because that's how books go. But maybe other things will happen. Like, there'll be somebody that she enjoys romantically, and they might die and or be close to death at some point. There's gonna be like somebody who's training her, and they will die. Whoever she like looks up to, and is like, that person's gonna die.
Okay.
These are big predictions I'm gonna make right here.
These are.
Yeah. So I know it's like a dystopian world. And they pick people for these games.
How
and then they fight.
Do you have any idea of how they pick people for these games?
Now, I'm going to say that
definitely something we're going to talk heavily about in the next episode.
They are going to say that it's random lottery, but I'm going to say it's going to be poor people and political enemies, right? So, like, the people who have big debts. This is probably, I'm getting maybe Squid Games in my head, but, people who owe money or people who pose a political threat, like their family. If you're running for office and you're too much of a threat to them, then your son or daughter is gonna have to die in these games. That would be my guess.
Yeah. How many people play in the games?
Oh, obviously 36.
Okay.
That's all the server can hold. No, I don't know. 12. Yeah, it could be any number. 100.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. One of those.
These are really somewhere between 0 and 100. I am going to tell you are spot on with that prediction right there.
I knew it.
Somewhere between 0 and 100.
I knew it. 102 would just be obscene. That would just be an obscene amount of people. So.
Now, you've kind of mentioned you really don't know any of the characters, but you keep referring to the main character as she. So it obviously you know.
Well, I've seen the trailers of a girl with a bow and arrow.
Okay.
Yeah. I assume she was pretty. I can't quite remember, but just when you're in a movie, you're usually pretty. And I think she had a bow and arrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I would say maybe 16, but maybe younger. I don't think older.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah. So that's what I believe I know about the book. Yeah, it's dystopian. Fight to the death in a dome. Or like game show style scenario.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I guess the more I'm thinking about it, is it's kind of like a bread and circus, right?
Okay.
So it's something everybody watches. I don't know if they watch because the society is brutal, like the Greeks and Romans, and they would go watch gladiators fight. I don't know if it's like that, or if it's like you have to watch for some reason. But everybody watches this, and then when you win, you're like a big deal. Unless, of course, you're her, because I think they want her dead. That's the only reason you would continue to do it over and over again. For 3 books.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to maybe take a minute. We are surrounded here in the studio by the books. We have all the movies. I have merch. Some may call it paraphernalia. For sure. Came from the good old Hot Topic in about, 2010, 2012. But just kind of looking...
If you haven't been to a Hot Topic in 2010 or 2012, I'm going to need you to go find a time machine and visit it. It's a magical place.
So obviously the original trilogy, the first book is the titular book. You hate
titular book.
You hate when I use that word, titular.
It's one of those words that I can't say.
The Hunger Games. But then book 2 is called Catching Fire, and book 3 is called Mockingjay. Is that giving you any more information?
So Catching Fire.
Mm-hmm.
She was so good in the first one. Now she's like ascended to another level, and she's catching fire. People are, after watching her the first time, and now she's so good. She's catching the whole society on fire with her awesomeness.
Okay.
And it's spreading. Her ideology is spreading. And the Mockingjay. See, at the end of Catching Fire, this is all speculation.
The listeners are going to love this.
All
fire
speculation.
is catching, folks.
Fire is caught. Her ideology is going through. But at the end of Catching Fire, which I see also seems to have a bird on it. They all seem to have birds.
Yes.
Very interesting.
And
because
then
the bird is...
I have this...
is the prize.
As a pin.
When you win, you get to eat the bird.
Like, this image is a pin.
A pin.
And I have that pin.
Yeah. I don't actually think you get to eat the bird, by the way. Yeah, so at the end of this book, right, this is going to sound very Harry Potter, but they're going to die. The idol, the person who's trained her,
the mentor
figure, dies at the end of the second book. And in the third book, she believes that this bird is the mentor, but it's not, and that's the Mockingjay. It's really mocking her.
Golly gee.
Yeah. I'm totally... I know, you don't know what to do. You're like, you're going to have to cancel the whole podcast because I know too much.
Yeah.
I know too much about it.
The listeners definitely agree. Then we have the prequel that came out during the time that shall not be named.
Which was, like, early times. Fifth annual?
It's the 10th.
10th annual? Is it annual? Yes. I'm going to assume it's annual.
Yes, it's annual.
And I do know because you keep saying that hers are like, it's like the 72nd or 6th or somewhere around there.
It's the 74th.
So it's been going on for a while. They've been human sacrificing.
Yeah. Why do they have to do the Hunger Games? Why are they doing these human sacrifices, as you call them?
These people aren't paying their taxes.
Wow.
No, I mean, I don't know why their excuse for doing it is. I just believe that it's to get rid of people who are a drag on society and or, like I said, are a threat to them in some way. Okay. But the actual reason for creating the Hunger Games, I have no idea. Maybe people were hungry.
They are hungry. I will clue you in on that one. They are hungry. But, so the prequel, back to the prequel, that is titled The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
Songbirds? More birds?
More birds.
See, but this happened in the past.
Yep.
So this might be the first bird.
Could be.
Maybe before the 10th Hunger Games, there weren't any birds. There were drones that watched people. And then a real bird made its way in.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know what they say, the birds work for the bourgeoisie.
Exactly. So. Exactly. As you can tell, I mean, this is just... I know everything there is to know about this series.
And then I just want to comment on the last book, the newest book, prequel, that has just been announced by the author Suzanne Collins.
Yes.
Sunrise on the Reaping.
Sunrise on the Reaping.
Yeah.
So I know it's not out yet, but clearly, The Reaping is probably
Yes.
something people know about.
What is the Reaping?
Well, the Grim Reaper
Mm-hmm.
in, I was gonna say real life, but in our folktale,
It depends on what you believe.
in our folktale, he is. It's like a. I'm gonna say sunrise on the Reaping might be when there's a real bad point in society. That's when people get really hungry. They've been hungry.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna get really hungry during
Okay.
that book. I don't know if there's another country or society that's going to create hardship, but that would be my guess, just from the name, the title. It's the beginning of the really bad times for the people of Candelopia. Candelopia?
You could not be further off. Do you want me to tell you the name of the country?
I don't know. How quickly are we going to get that?
I mean, it's in the first couple pages of the book.
I think then it might be fair game.
Right. It is called Panem. Panem.
Like the plane company?
Yes.
The defunct plane company? Well,
yes.
That's interesting. More birds. More flying.
I never thought of it that way.
More flying.
More flying, you're right.
It's a lot of flight. Which is strange, because I think it's a very on-the-ground story.
Yeah. I mean, to be transparent, I can't think of a time when any of the characters were in an airplane. It might happen. I might have forgotten about it.
Now, does anybody get, lifted by a giant bird?
I mean, you could... Maybe if you didn't know what it was, you would think it was a bird.
Okay. Somebody's going to get lifted by a giant bird.
Get hit in the head, you've got blood loss, you're dehydrated, I don't know, something comes out of the sky.
Okay. Yeah. I imagine people will get hit in the head. I imagine people will die.
Mm-hmm.
I assume at some point we're going to break the rules and, fake a death. And somebody's going to, advance. They're going to be dead.
Mm.
And you're going to think they're dead, but they're in the next book. And everybody's mad about it.
Like the book I just read recently, where that happened. That was, I was so mad I didn't even want to read the sequel.
Well, I'm not saying the fans are mad. I'm saying that the world is mad that they cheated the system and got two people to live in some way. I don't know. That just feels right. That feels like something. I think I'm on to something.
I think you might be onto something. Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely excited to see where this project is going to take us. I think our plan as of right now is to read the first 3 books before we watch the first 4 movies.
Oh, we're going to read the whole series before we watch a movie? I kind of thought we would read a book and then watch that movie in between before we start the next book and reflect on it.
Okay.
So, that's just what I thought.
So we'll have to kind of see how we feel after the first book. And I might want to do some research to make sure.
There's nothing spoiler. Mm-hmm. They don't mess with the continuity in some way.
I mean, I don't remember them doing that, but it,
Oftentimes the first movie does end with the end of the series, and then they flash back. I'm sorry.
I think that's a newer thing in movies. We are still back in 2014, 2015 time where every movie has to be 2 parts for some reason.
Yes, I did notice you said 5 movies, which 3 books plus 1 does not equal 5.
No, I said 4 movies.
What? No.
There are 5 movies because there's 4 books. There's the prequel.
That's what I was saying.
Okay.
That's you.
So yeah.
Right on.
The 3rd book is a part 1 and a part 2 situation for the movies.
And I'm looking at it, and it looks to be thinner or about the same thickness as the other books.
It is actually 1 page shorter than Catching Fire.
1 page shorter. And is Catching Fire the longest?
Yes.
Okay. But it gets 4 hours of cinema.
Yeah.
Which means extra fight scenes. One of the movies, maybe they'll just wander through the forest and nothing will happen.
For 2 whole hours.
For 2 whole hours. I mean, maybe they'll have a fight in there. That was a great movie. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then that's fine. So yeah, we're gonna start off. We're gonna be reading the first 9 chapters, correct? Because that's the first part of the book.
Yes.
So we will see you after we read the first 9 chapters, part 1.
The tributes.
The tributes. So we're gonna get introduced to all the different tributes, all 0 to 100 tributes.
I think we're gonna get some. I think it kind of goes without saying that
to introduce 100 people in 9 chapters. Is
some good background, why this is happening, where we are. Yeah, yes. Some word.
I will know things about the series the next time you hear my voice.
Maybe.
I'll know something.
Every day's a school day when you learn something
Every
new.
day is a school day when you learn something new, and that is the theme of this podcast. I'm learning lots of new things. So yeah, we're gonna do one part at a time, one part of a book. So you're looking to 3 episodes a book, talk about the movie, and we'll go from there. We've got 4 books. We're gonna try to get this to the point where we're pretty much
on that
in
release
with the new
date.
book.
Yeah.
So we'll find ways to drag it out and make it a fun time for everybody. I shouldn't have said that.
Involved.
Shouldn't have said that. We're not going to drag it out. We're not going to waste anybody's time. We've got lots of high-quality content coming to you. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and read a book.
I know you haven't done it in years, but here you go.
That is not true. I just read Green Eggs and Ham the other day.
All right, listeners. We'll catch you next time. And as always, may the odds be ever in your favor.
I would bet my buttons they're not going to be.